I did consider doing a video about my bracelet collection, but I've been doing this a while and there are so many of them to show. So in the end, I decided I'd show my favourite ones instead, my top 5, to keep the video from getting too long. And for the purposes of this video, I'm not technically showing my absolute favourite bracelet, which is this one. Because for this video, I'm going to be showing my favourite bracelets out of the ones that I've made. This one, although it is my favourite, isn't one I've made, as I'm sure you can tell. I received this one as a gift years ago, and even though it doesn't actually fit me, I still love it. In fact, I did have to adapt it and add a clasp a bit further up the bracelet because otherwise it just falls off. I know I could get some links removed, but knowing my luck, if I did, I'd suddenly gain loads of weight and it wouldn't fit me anymore. So I decided I'd just add a jump ring instead. And I also added this charm, which was another gift that I received separately. One of my friends bought me this for Christmas a couple of years ago, and it's funny because I have no particular interest in anthropomorphized mushrooms, yet I really like this little charm. And an honourable mention goes to these 2 bracelets. This one is hematite beads, and honestly I can't remember where I got it from. It's heavier than it looks and it's really cold when I first put it on, but once that wears off I do really like how it looks when I wear it. I won this skull one in an arcade machine at the seaside a few years ago, and it probably cost pennies to produce, but I still really like it. So moving on to my favourite bracelets out of the ones that I've made. This is one that I didn't make that long ago. It's quite a simple macrame pattern using 2 different coloured cords, although it looks more because one of the cords I used was multicoloured. I did it with a button closure because I like custom fitting bracelets. In fact, it's one of the bonuses of being able to make my own jewellery, that I can make things that actually fit me. Like I showed with my favourite bracelet, ready-made bracelets are usually too big for me. And that's not meant as a brag. Despite my bony wrists, the rest of me isn't especially thin. Next is this one, which I made about 18 months ago. This one has a beaded edge and 3 different colour stripes in between the beads and the contrast coloured cords. I was trying out a method with this one where I only beaded the part that would show at the top, because if you rest your wrists on anything, beads can be a little bit uncomfortable. And as somebody who types a lot, not having beads all the way around makes a bracelet much more comfortable to wear for me. But I didn't actually make this one expecting to like it as much as I do. It was a bit of a what if pattern that I was trying. So the funny thing about this one is that it's not really one of my favourites, which begs the question, why is it in my top 5 then? Well, that's because it's a remake of one of my favourites, which is this one. I absolutely loved this bracelet, and unfortunately I am a heavy-handed person and managed to break it. The thing I loved about the bracelet was the colour and the little alien charm. I'd originally bought a selection of charms, intending to add them to bracelets that I was planning to make for selling. But this little alien charm was too nice to sell, so I ended up putting it on this bracelet and keeping it for myself. So when it broke, I didn't make an identical copy, and to be honest, I do regret that now because I don't really like this one anywhere near as much as the first one. And this is one that I will probably undo and remake again like the original, when I get round to it. This bracelet is one of the first fishbone chevron pattern bracelets that I made, and as you can see, it's quite well worn now. I made a version of this bracelet with black and rainbow, which should have been even more to my taste. And yet this is the one that I keep returning to. It's funny, but sometimes you can end up with a favourite that you never expected to be your favourite, and even when you try and make a guaranteed favourite, sometimes it just ends up not being your favourite. And the one that you didn't think you'd be that bothered about just ends up surprising you. And this bracelet is my top favourite out of all the bracelets that I've made, even though I don't tend to make many bracelets with crimp ends and a clasp, because I see them as being a bit dainty, and one thing I am not is dainty. But even though this one is made with embroidery thread, I still felt that it would be too bulky for another kind of fastening to work really well. I wasn't specifically making this one for myself originally, it was more of an experiment to begin with. I was trying out a pattern that I'd usually do with macrame cords, but using embroidery threads instead, and unfortunately, or fortunately depending on your point of view, I made a mistake on this one. Unfortunate because it meant I couldn't sell it, and fortunate because I decided to keep it for myself, and it ended up being my favourite. So those were the top 5 bracelets from my ever-increasing collection.